Today I'm going to take the back wheel out of the Tmax 530 as I need to change the tyre. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Now the first thing is the wheel has to be released from the belt. So when it's put back, the tension is going to need to be readjusted. So before I take anything apart, I'm using this tool to measure the tension on my belt, so that when I put it back together I can put it back at the same level of tension. So to do that with this particular tool, you strike the belt and it tells you the tension, which on mine is 84.6 Hertz. Okay, I can do that a few times, and each time it's within 1 Hertz, 84.6, 84.2. Okay, so now I know that when I put it back together I can adjust it to be in the same place. Now you won't have one of these tools, but at least have a feel of your belt to try and establish how tight you think it is, so that when you put it back together you can have it at a similar place, a similar level of tautness. First of all, if you have ABS, you can have a little sensor here with, I think, probably an 8mm bolt. So you would need to undo that bolt and take that sensor out of the way, which has a cable that goes up there. Mine doesn't have ABS, so I haven't got that. So I need to remove the parking brake caliper, which is two 12mm bolts. And for that I'm using a deep socket. You can just about sort of press the spring out of the way to get onto that first bolt, and then the other one here. So I'm going to take those out and lift off that caliper, and then the same thing for the actual brake caliper here, which I'm using a 3/8 inch drive because these are much tighter. Again 12mm, and then loosen off those bolts and remove. So I've taken that pin right out. It goes through a rubber boot on the other side of the caliper, and the same for the top one. You don't have to remove them all the way. Actually you do, sorry. Okay, so just wiggle it down and there's my caliper. The piston's looking quite crusty, so I might clean that up. And then these, I'm just going to put these back in there and push them in, really to keep them clean, because that should be nice and clean. It has a light layer of grease on it. So just poke that back in to keep the bolts clean, and also to close the aperture so no dirt can go in there. And the pads are just here, which they should be able to stay there. So now these three things are out of the way: the parking caliper, the brake caliper, and the ABS wire sensor, if it's fitted on your bike. Now we're going to need to release this lock nut on both sides of the bike. So you need two 12mm spanners, one to hold the rear of the bolt in position, and the other one in order to release that lock nut. Okay, so the lock nut's now been released. So now I'm using a 32mm socket on a long breaker bar. to loosen off the rear nut, the wheel nut. Right, so on both sides I've put the adjusters further in, and so my wheel now moves. I've moved it forward and the belt on the near side is loose. And as you can see there, I've just managed to push the wheel spindle through with my hands, so I haven't had to use a hammer or anything like that. If I had have done, I would have used a rubber faced heavy mallet. Right, so I can now withdraw the spindle fully from the left hand side. So I'm going to support the wheel. I'm lifting the weight slightly on my knee and with my hands, and then I'm going to wiggle it to remove the wheel spindle. There we go. Now I'm going to put this down on a clean surface. Now, the belt needs to be pulled off to the side of the drum or gear, or sprocket, I'm not quite sure how they refer to it. So because I had loosened off my adjusters, hopefully I've got enough play, yeah I have, to slide the belt off to the side. I can immediately see a problem, which is the lower guard is actually interfering here. So what I might just quickly do is put that back on and loosen off the lower guard. Right, so I've just taken off the 2 bolts, 5mm Allen key bolts, to allow the lower cover to drop. Yeah, there we go. So that's, I pushed it forward enough in order to get it separated. Interesting, they can now see marks on the sort of on the drum where it's been pitted, almost like little stones have got caught, and it's marked the aluminium. Right, so just move my block out of the way underneath the wheel, this, and then just see there's a spacer just here I can notice. Okay, so that spacer is on the near side, on the belt side. The carrier for the caliper has fallen off of the right side when I moved the wheel. And there's also this spacer on the right hand side, on the brake side, which was still sticking in mine, but yours might fall out. There we go. Then the wheel just rolls out.